I'm delighted to be joined now by Jim Laird and Michael Kilkie. Jim is the CEO of Enough Foods, while Michael is head of culinary. Just briefly, Enough is a food tech company that produces Abunda, a myco-protein-based alt protein. Jim, Michael, welcome to Protein Production Technology International.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having us.
That's great. No problem at all. Right, now we're going to talk about the genesis of Enough. What specific challenges within the global food system inspired the founding of Enough Foods, and how did you identify the potential of mycoprotein as a solution to those challenges?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. We were created about 10 years ago and recreated based on one of our founders' passion for resource efficiency. And that resource efficiency remains extremely relevant now to global food protein market. So, as a growing planet, we can feed 10 billion people, but we can't do it using animals as a means of that growing protein. There's almost 8 billion of us eating 80 billion farmed animals annually, and it's not sustainable. And that's kind of what drove us. The simple truth is too much drain on water, land, and resources. So that's why we were focused on it. And growing protein using smaller organisms is more efficient than big things. So the pig's more efficient than the cow, the chicken's more efficient than the pig, and microorganisms like yeast and fungi are more efficient than any of the animal options. And that's why we choose to grow Abunda microprotein, because as an ingredient, it enables creation of meat, dairy alternatives that genuinely taste as good as animal, but do so using massively less resources. And that's what motivates us. That's what motivated us 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So how did you envision the company's role in addressing that global growing food crisis and the environmental concerns that you've already cited when you started the company?
Well, I guess we don't overestimate ourselves, but in this global protein market, Enough and the full range of all of the plant-based options, they currently only account for a tiny share. But we can achieve vast scale, and we support the need for some sort of protein transition, and doing so by collaborating with all parts of the value chain in the food industry. When the business started, we defined ourselves with a grand mission of making protein sustainable. It may be massively a massively ambitious goal, but it's also vital. We've seen in many markets, disruption will happen when we give consumers products they need, which meet their needs. And we think that protein transition will happen in this market. I guess when we started, we also saw ourselves as a technology company who would license to partners and would never build a factory. But 10 years on, having taken on board some of the obstacles like global pandemic and wars, our plans changed, and we're pleased that we've now built our first factory. We can produce 5 to 6 worth of cows of protein every hour. And from there, we fulfill our aim of that journey towards scale.
You talked about some of those challenges there. I've completely forgotten about COVID, to be honest. But given some of the obstacles and hurdles in developing a new protein source, and as well as building a food tech company, how did you overcome some of those initial resource constraints and build that strong foundation that stood you in good stead?
Yeah, if I'm honest, Nick, I think we benefited from luck, tenacity, passion, and support from amazing stakeholders. And we've got the collective energy from also some real great team members. Investors and activists had probably highlighted the need for that protein transition. And when we were founded, there was that start of some real momentum kind of in the sector. The support from really strong shareholders gave us early momentum. It gave us some funding to build a strong team and to prove in those early days the benefits of Abunda. We also benefited from some big scale funding options. Unfortunately, secured over 18 million of grant funding, 18 million euros. And that gave great benefits in terms of money, but equally collaboration, some support, some motivation. And we secured some great grants from the EU under their BBI-JU scheme, and then also from Zero Waste Scotland and Scottish Enterprise. Mm-hmm. And to your question, under Plenitude, which is our project under the EU's BBI-JU, we lead a consortium of partners, most of whom are way bigger than us. Both as a team and in terms of our overall progress, we benefited from really working with some big-scale partners in that area. And to reach where we are now, we really have stood on the shoulders of giants, and it's cliche, but we look forward to continuing to believe in that need for collaboration and to really helping this sector grow.
Now, you mentioned some of the efficiency benefits of Abunda earlier, but how does your fermentation process, compare to traditional protein production methods in terms of things like resource efficiency, land, water, energy usage, and so on?
Well, using enough fermentation process, we grow protein somewhere between 5 and 10 times more efficiently than the animal, if you like. And that applies to land use, water usage, and energy. I think it's really relevant to say that the same advantage is true of almost all the non-animal protein options, both plant-based and fermentation. And so we're not solely competing on sustainability metrics, maybe more so on taste and texture. Michael will build on that. The reason we celebrate Abunda and the reason that customers love it is because of its versatility in product application just as much as it is for sustainability. And we're a B2B business working with some great customers, and our development team have shown applications in both meat and dairy alternatives, which really deliver on that promise of tasting as good as animal.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are some of the key factors that enable you to scale production significantly? It's all about scale, but also while maintaining your commitment to sort of sustainability and resource efficiency.
Sorry, I missed the question. Tell me that one more time.
So what are some of the key factors that enable you to scale production significantly while maintaining that commitment to sustainability and resource efficiency?
I guess we start from a look at the market, and there's huge potential demand. If we believe the demand from the market and forecasts from the big banks and consultancies, there's a need to build a new facility the size of what we built every 3 or 4 days. So that's a massive motivation inside, because there's a massive untapped market. It's also a massive infrastructure challenge, and it needs input from policymakers, from financing, and it needs collaboration. For enough, we recognise our job is about that, to focus on that collaboration model, with a need to deliver on our part of the value chain. We recognise that we are just one section of this, and we like working with partners who add a capability, but also who've got scale to really start make a difference. And we like particularly working with partners that we get on with. And for us, that means finding an efficient way of working to get stuff done. So the key factors for us for future success are, let's all do our own job. And the established global food system is already massively efficient. And for us to participate in it, plant-based options really need to replicate some of that efficiency and start to replicate that scale.
Talking of efficiency, how are you envisioning closing the loop on production waste and incorporating circular economy principles into your operations?
I think some of that sustainability is in everything we do. As with any food process, we want to minimize waste, and because that improves sustainability, improves cost. For our process, there's not too much waste, but our technical development team do continue to work on all potential areas of efficiency in processing the water. And one of our continuing areas of focus is to look at our internal recycling to really minimize any water loss and get our water balance correct.
Michael, how important are strategic partnerships in achieving your expansion goals? What sort of types of partnerships are you seeking?
For us, it's a small team, a small growing team. It's very, very, very important. We always believe in collaboration. We recognise our role in the value chain, working with partners who share our ambition, both like-sized companies, larger companies, smaller companies. We have a few long-term strategic partnerships. We both work collaborative. That's difficult for a Scottish person. Collaboratively to achieve mutual growth. It needs to be beneficial for both parties. Anything we do, it needs to be a win-win. We need to learn, our partners need to learn, and we need to kind of grow together. But we do this, across different and complementary skill sets. We're very, very big in collaboration.
Are there any specific criteria used to select those partners? And then how do they contribute to your overall goals as a company?
I sort of there.
Michael.
Sorry, I lost my place there for a second. Can you repeat that question there?
I was just saying, what criteria are used to select those partners, and how do those partnerships contribute to your overall goals?
So with high quality complementary protein still being relatively new on the food scene, it's important that our partners are committed to the category as well as us in delivering quality, competitive pricing and products as well. So we want to work with partners who are creative, who've got the same appetite for success as us, and it's a hugely competitive protein marketplace out there. So we like to keep relationships simple. I think that's key to us as well. So we in certain departments we are small teams, we're growing teams. So we have a limited time to invest at times that really needs to be worthwhile. And again, I mentioned win-win. It needs to be a win-win. There needs to be learnings. There needs to be results for both parties.
How are you gathering feedback from your potential customers to refine the product that you're offering, as well as your marketing strategy?
So I think from a development and a product point of view, we work very, very closely with potential customers, with collaborators, with partners, and they're spread across not only kind of many territories, but many sort of varied products that they're working with. So, it gives our development team, our R&D teams, a very good understanding of current trends, future trends, and building up knowledge for, future opportunities and potential strategic partnerships moving forward.
And is the product actually commercialised yet? I know when we first started discussing this, it was...
We've had first productions, so and we're into the early stage. So we've not got application on retailer shelf, but it's into our customers at this stage.
So what strategies are being implemented to build a customer pipeline and secure those all-important initial sales?
So my team, the commercial team has been going for probably well over half from the inception of the business. I've been with the business for 4.5 years, and we've built a really strong pipeline of, not just customers, but potential customers, partners, prospects. And we work, we're aligned very closely with them. So again, I say, we have moderate resource, but we've big ambitions. So we work very, very closely with potential customers. We don't just, we won't just send them a bag of mycoprotein and say, there you go. We're invested in accelerating kind of their development with it. So we do lots of hands-on workshops. We show them the potential of what can be made, not just through product design and ingredients, but we look at, what are their factory capabilities, what are their sort of processes that they use, and we help them understand what can be gained, whether and what can be made with the product, whether it's from a meat analogue or whether you process the mycoprotein slightly differently to reduce fibrosity, and it then becomes really good for a dairy product. So we do that just both UK, across Europe and beyond. We also like to sort of partner up and collaborate with sort of early stage, companies that the same sort of, so we can, grow in tandem with them. Some of them, we share investors with, etc. People like Juicy Marbles, Mosa Meat. So we have lots of little internal projects and collaborations going on as well.
And in terms of distribution channels, what are you considering to reach that target market effectively?
So we work, again, collaboration, a word that keeps coming up, but we collaborate with a range of food manufacturers, and as well sort of supplying them with a raw material, with our ingredient Abunda, we can add value by bringing additional businesses to them. So we attend lots of shows, we do lots of, workshops with customers, and they'll sometimes say to us, actually, we don't have the capability, we don't to process the Abunda, to turn it into a meatball, to turn it into a block of cheddar cheese, so this is where we can join the dots with other people and say, well, we know this company has a capability, so why don't you look at them? They could produce the chicken for you, they could produce the cheese for you. So we help solve solutions and connect people, as well as just being an ingredient supplier.
Mm-hmm. And how have you determined the pricing strategy for Abunda? Price parity is all important. So when that's considering factors such as production costs and market competition, etc.
Yeah, our principles around pricing have always been the same. And in order for our business to be viable and it to be a viable ingredient for people, that we need to compete with existing proteins, and that's not just we don't sit here and compare ourselves to soy or things like we look at
proteins. We want to be known as a protein alongside, all the other proteins, fish, meat, whatever it may be. So I think, as long as we can position ourselves as being below or around about the same market price as the market moves, then, we're a viable ingredient, and we regularly benchmark, to maintain that position and make sure that we are competitive, and also to make sure that our customers can then be competitive, that they have the scope to still, if they make a chicken analogue, if they make a cheese analogue, that they can then be competitive in the market as well as us.
I think, Nick, that's been the challenge of the sector for so long, that taste as good as, or be less expensive than the animal. I think we've started to see that, and certainly with a bun, though, we're seeing that we can help customers get to that price point and be competitive to initiate some of that transition that we've talked about.
Mm. I guess you could say that Corn was sort of pioneering the mycoprotein space, but there seems to be more and more companies entering the field now. How do you guys plan to maintain a competitive edge, especially in this mycoprotein field?
I think at the moment we're in a very good position. We're outside Marlow and Corn. We're one of the leaders here, and we can literally we could sell more than we can make at the moment, which is always a good position to be in. But our strategy and pricing position is focused on building high scale. We'll only have impact if we get to large scale, and that it won't just be enough that does that. There's as you say, there's lots of other people doing it as well in the beginning. But I think we're ahead of the curve a little bit in terms of all the things that Jim has talked about and how we managed to get where we are so quickly. If all went well with a product launch, we know that realistically one customer alone could absorb all of our current capacity out of one fermenter. And the same will happen as we get more fermenters, that we can potentially, we could look at having customers taking all of the output from each fermenter. We know the demand is there.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of product development roadmap, are there plans to expand that Abunda product line or develop other mycoprotein-based products?
Yeah, I think as any kind of business in any department within the business, we always look to evolve. But actually, at the moment, we're very much focused on one ingredient, and that is Abunda. And it's very, very versatile. We've spoke, about the different things that you can do with it, whether it's meat, chicken, fish, cheese, dairy, drinks. So our product development within here is based on having core support. What we like to do is we'll have core support recipes. So if we have a customer comes to us and says, can we make a chorizo sausage, or can we make a Gouda cheese? We have a base recipe that we're happy to share. We're happy to go along and join them and give them a workshop on how to handle it. So we focus very much on the supply of one ingredient. And again, as I talked about before, we focus our support on particular customers' capabilities. So a lot of our development when it comes to product is very much driven by our customers' needs and our potential customers' needs. And I think we offer a very kind of bespoke support service. In terms of, if you take a step back to the actual production of the mycoprotein, as much as our focus is on one ingredient at the moment, we have requests. For example, if we have a customer who's going to make 5,000 tons of chicken analogue a year, and the sensible question for them is, actually, could you put some chicken flavour in the mycoprotein to save us doing it? Or if somebody wants to make a red meat product, can you put some red meat colour in? So there's lots of things that can be done in the future along the lines of even down to packaging. Could it be dried? It's a wet biomass at the moment. Could it be a powder? Could it be frozen? Could it be sold chilled? So there's lots of, in terms of R&D and development within products and also within the raw material, there's lots of options that could be looked at as we grow. But the main focus at the moment is, make Abunda the best it can be and sell that.
Okay, well, let's continue on that theme of making it the best that it can be. How do you position Abunda as a superior alternative protein compared to other alternatives, plant-based or even be the animal-based proteins?
I think for me, I'm not sure superior is the word. I think high quality a high quality alternative is what we would say that we are, and it makes delicious food. The key for us is that a lot of alternative proteins are dried that you need to rehydrate. You have to force them through an extruder to make them texture. We have a naturally fibrous product that has a good nutritional content. It's very neutral in colour, it's very neutral in taste, and it has a natural fibrosity. If you think of something along the lines of chicken mince or white crab meat, it's got that sort of texture. So you're already very, very advantaged when you start to work with it and you start to understand it. And that, as I said before, it's very much about a lot of companies and developers are used to working with powders and dried texture proteins, so it's about helping them understand how to work with it, which we do. But nutritionally, it's high in protein and fibre, low in saturated fat. It has all 9 essential amino acids, so it's a complete protein comparable to animal-based sources. So we don't want to take away the animal if that's not what people want to do. We just want to make a high quality, sustainable food. It's free from cholesterol, a low glycemic index, and as Jim said, it has a much lower environmental impact compared to tradition. But I think the key is, and certainly from my role, and I always say I have the best role in the business. We get out to feed people and help them understand it. But it's just it's a very good quality ingredient that once you understand it makes delicious food.
Mm-hmm. Jim, Michael mentioned some of the nutritional benefits of Abunda there. How does it compare to traditional protein sources? Can you go into a bit more detail?
Yeah, I think Michael's almost just done it. And I think Michael's talked about the fact that it has got that long list of functional benefits of whether it be the high nutritionally high in protein compared to the animal. It looks, Michael described it, it looks a bit like a chicken mince or a crab mince. So it's got that natural fibrosity. So how does it compare? It looks and feels a bit like what you use. We are slightly less protein than the animal because it's high in fiber and within that piece. So the fact that fiber nutritionally is a great virtue as well. I can go on and talk about the amino acids, and we can talk about fiber and cholesterol, whatever. I think, as Michael says, what the bit that it really compares with is when you put it in a recipe and you try it. And that's the bit Michael says he's got the best job. The bit that when I get the fun of, and we just looked at some of our chicken recipes this afternoon, and just those simple recipes, that's what really excites me. And when you can deliver something that is genuinely a no-compromise alternative, that's how it compares. And that's what excites customers, probably more so than some of the long lists of functional benefits I could give you about amino acids and cholesterols and the like. And just customer parity is when we get super excited.
Yeah, I think if you look at, to jump in, if you look at any market research on what do people look for when they try plant-based or fermented food, and it's always taste. Taste is the one thing that will turn people off something or turn people back onto it. Yes, it's about sustainability. Yes, it's about pricing. But if it's not delicious to eat, then people are not going to eat it. And that's where, again, I say we're very advantaged. We can make delicious food.
Yeah. Michael, I mean, what steps have you taken? You're head of culinary. What steps have you taken to ensure that Abunda product has those desirable sensory attributes such as taste, texture, and aroma?
So I think, it's a natural ingredient we've got to scale, but what we need to be with it is it needs to be consistent. We're a mixed team here in our team of we're food scientists and chef. Again, we're a small team, but I think I touched on it before. We offer quite a unique bespoke support service in terms of development, and we have to do that because 9 times out of 10, most of the companies haven't worked with mycoprotein before. So we try to support their needs, but separate to that, we work with lots of different. We try and build relationships with flavour houses, with colour suppliers, with functional ingredient companies, so that we can hold toolboxes of ingredients that we know are a good friend of Abunda mycoprotein. Certain ingredients don't work, but so we try to take a bit of the work out for our customers. So we can go to them and we can say, here's ingredients that we find work very, very well, with mycoprotein. Here's the ones that we find don't work so well. This is flavours we have really good results with. So we work with ingredient partners to be able to give a complete solution to our customers. Not only that, we work with manufacturers. So we go to pilot plants. We've done some work in pilot plants of equipment that we know that our manufacturers use, so that we can validate recipes, we can validate ingredients. We can say to them, we know it goes through this kind of machinery, these formers, these grinders, these mixers, these cook lines, all this kind of thing. So we try to give as complete a solution as we can to customers and partners. And this is, even in the sort of early stages where we can support them as much as possible.
We're going to talk about the team that you've built there. You've grown rapidly in the past 2 years, and I know that you have a diverse team of people there. What strategies have you employed to build that team in this basic competitive food tech industry, particularly areas like attracting talent and microbiology, food science, even engineering?
Nick, we've got a bigger team now than it's grown. We seem to double for 2 or 3 years on the bounce. We've now got a team of 70, 15 nationalities, and that diversity is one of the strengths of the team. We continue to look for diversity in terms of gender, nationality, and experience. And examples of that have included we've recruitment from industry, but also academia. Within the development team, we've got a team from Poznan, Poland, Wageningen in Netherlands, Caledonia University in Scotland. So that diversity is important, and I think has helped us in that recruitment journey and recruitment process. And additional functional skills, we do spend quite a lot of time looking at motivation and behavioural styles. Everyone does a really consistent test. That doesn't mean we don't attract from big organisations or folks in that. Those functional skills, we have got technical team from Unilever, PepsiCo, Tate & Lyle, Cargill's, IFF and others. But we do spend a hell of a lot of time on what motivates each person and how they fit in that team. And that's really part of that building that culture. I think within that culture, it's a marathon journey, not a sprint. It's an area we will try different techniques. We work on our onboarding processes. We work on how we develop our kind of behavioural processes, mostly around communication, behaviours such as listening and feedback. So we kind of work hard at it, Nick, and I think we're still on the journey.
Mm-hmm. And what about the company culture? How do you foster that culture that supports innovation, collaboration, and that shared commitment to sustainability?
I think we do try and do it through communication, and the communication probably starts with what's our business framework, which probably like a lot of others has got its purpose, its values, behaviours. We work hard on trying to bring those to life. Within those behaviours, we've always talked about collaboration. Michael said a few times, we think win-win. It's always been part of our internal narrative, and it supports some of our innovation approach. It keeps us grounded in terms of what our role is in the value chain. As a team that have really just refreshed our values, and they summarise it as ENOUGH's TIPS, which stand for teamwork, impact, integrity, passion, and people. And I used to call it under that one about impact. One of our early colleagues found the statement is, what's important is being part of something that's bigger than us. And it kind of resonates, I think, for the whole team, because we're in this massive market. If we do start to be able to deliver, we will be part of something bigger than us. And it's some examples of, and it's really important to us in terms of how we collectively see that interest in sustainability.
You mentioned the diversity of the team, and I guess it's only natural considering you're spread across different regions. How do you measure your success in that area, the progress?
In terms of diversity, we do track and monitor it. You're right. We look at gender, nationality, experience, age profiles, young people like myself. I guess we naturally attract some diversity because, as you say, we're across 3 locations: Scotland, England, Netherlands, and we've got all the business functions. So we do have some tracks and measures on that. Within it's easy to have that, the international diversity I've talked about. The gender diversity is in our operations team. We've not managed that at all in our science team and in our engineering team. So I'm really pleased with some of those metrics. ultimately the impact of that comes down to how we perform. And I think obviously we do track and measure some of those metrics of the team. What our stakeholders and shareholders measure us by is how we then impact on how it impacts on the business performance overall.
And you mentioned the attracting the next generation of employees, like food scientists, engineers. So what strategies are you implementing there?
Well, so we've talked about strategic partners, and one of our longest strategic partners is our search partner, a company called Solutions Driven. We've worked with them over 5 years, and they have helped us with some of that the approach to finding great talent, and particularly some of those tools about motivation. With them, we talk about our employer brand. I think it's an area where we probably can still come a hell of a lot further. But it's about how we are best placed to attract the right talent. Over the recent years, attracting talent has been a challenge for all businesses, but for most of our team, the business purpose is certainly motivational. And that quote of doing something bigger than us, as we start to achieve scale and work with large organizations and partners, I think we really do start to be able to do something slightly bigger than us. So we kind of give an employer promise that gives big opportunities probably at an early stage.
And once you have those employees in place, what programs or initiatives do you have to develop the skills and leadership potential of those guys?
We've got what a lot of organizations have. We focus on that onboarding experience in the recruitment stage, really focus on succession planning. Everyone's got their individual objectives, business objectives are there. So I think it's grown-up organization stuff. We start to evolve our internal training program. Maybe like a lot of things, we won't do too much meant it from first principles. We've adopted some great policy, structures from outside, and then supported that with external trainers, internal trainers. And that forms part of our overall people program. It aims to enable our employees to realize their own potential, allow them to keep growing, keep moving, and keep progressing.
Now we're going to talk a little bit more about the product. So given that recent opening of your production facility in the Netherlands, what's your current production capacity and what's your target production volume for in the next 5 years, for instance?
Yeah, so right now we can sell everything we can make. Our first operational line, we make 1.3 tons an hour. It's about 5 or 6 cows equivalent of protein every hour. Full production, it's 10,000 tons a year. So within that footprint, we've got a building where we can double our capacity, and we'll want to do it the next 18 months. On this site, we've probably got scope to go to 50 to 60,000 tons, and we'd want to be, the challenge for right now is balancing the growth to that, adding capacity in line with the growth of the market.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of geographic regions are the primary focus for those expansion plans?
Well, so I guess that comes from two angles, from a production and from a demand sense. And in a demand sense, the protein market's truly global. And therefore, in the long term, we envisage there's, for biomass fermentation, there'll be high-scale capacity in every region. In the short term, our focus is on the capacity we have in the Netherlands, and in terms of and we see that within the small radius of where we are in the Netherlands, that's where our current commercial priority is, because it's there's plenty of demand there. If we were to look to expansion, there's strong rationales to add capacity in almost every region, and we've assessed options for North America, for the Gulf, for Asia, and the factors that influence that will be demand, where the demand is. The demand probably is coming from Asia, where the cost of utilities are, and in that sense, maybe the Gulf and North America would be where it's cheapest, and also where we see synergies. And in that sense, wherever we look, we will continue to look to that co-location model where we kind of derive synergies wherever we can, and we spend capital on the real part of the process that we do, and not on some of those kind of adjacent services we can get from co-location.
You mentioned some of those capacity increases that you're expecting over the next 5 years. What are some of the primary challenges in scaling Abunda to meet the global demand, and how are you addressing those challenges?
I think the challenge for any technology solution or any market, which is a growth market, is that balance of how you add capacity in line with the growth of the market. Technically, the only limitation on building capacity for what we do is, one, the access to capital because it's expensive, and secondly, the ability to find the right talent. And I think one of our strengths right now is our team. There's not an abundance of people who have experience in fermentation, or notably continuous fermentation. So as we start to see progress commercially in the market, we're well placed, but it's certainly going to be easier to overcome the challenges of getting talent and really accessing that capital. To your question, right now, what do we do? Our focus is on building the foundation from the first line, delivering from that first line, second line, and every day, every month, we're pleased to say we're kind of demonstrating those improvements.
Mm-hmm. And what about the supply chain? How are you ensuring that you build a robust and sustainable supply chain to support that production of Abunda?
I think one of the nice things about Abunda and mycoprotein is the supply chain relatively simple. The core inputs are sustainable sugar and a secure, sustainable supply of energy and utilities. So we've got a very nice and simple supply chain. As part of our sourcing strategy, we work with suppliers to ensure that sustainability of that in terms of capacity, cost, and ESG considerations is all there. But one of the real sweet spots we get compared to some of the complexity of the animal supply chain is nice and simple.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned investment earlier. What further investments are being made in R&D and those facilities and distribution networks to support that expected growth?
Right now our main investment focus is on adding capacity, installing and adding and commissioning new capacity, new steel. And for that reason, we continue to strengthen our engineering teams notably. We've got a core internal process technology or R&D team, and they look at development to support the production operations, and that's maybe the main focus, as well as doing some longer-term R&D. And really the explanation of that, given that Abunda's technology ready now, it's not something where we need a transformation. We're not rushing towards heavy R&D or examples of new strains. Because any change that we did find there may end up having a new regulatory assessment. So we've got our main focus there is capacity and infrastructure, and then really operational improvements and efficiency.
Mm-hmm. I've just got one final question for you both. You probably wouldn't want to use the word disrupt, but how does Enough plan to disrupt the traditional protein industry and accelerate the adoption of the alternatives that you guys are offering?
Yeah, I don't think we do. We disrupted the 600 million ton protein market with our 10 to 20,000 tons of capacity. I think we could have. It would be naive at this stage. Our role is not to disrupt conventional proteins, but our role is to help as part of that protein transition by offering additional choice of a product that makes great tasting food. Relative to alternative protein markets were still collectively tiny. It will grow very rapidly, and that's what excites me. Excites, I think, a lot of the business. So our role is adding that capacity, growing in line with the market, working with partners who can reach scale. And as Michael's probably said, part of our role there is working with customers to explain to them or support them on how we communicate Abunda and mycoprotein, and explain why. Maybe a good example of that is we maybe just over a year or so back helped create the Fungi Protein Association, and that started with 5-6 members. Has now got 40 plus. It's many of the companies involved in fungi. In that area, we work collectively. We work in pre-commercial areas, looking at policy, communication, regulatory matters, but things as simple as how do you explain what mycoprotein is to hungry consumers.
Yeah, just for me, I think the hope for that, and when we talk to a lot of the kind of front runners and customers in this kind of scene, is that in 5, 10, 15, however many years, you go into the supermarket and it's just protein. It's, that's a bit of fish, that's a bit of chicken, that's a bit of mycoprotein. It's not, there's your plant-based stuff, there's your fermented stuff, there's the stuff out of the water, there's your, the alternative word has gone. It's just another option. It's another, delicious protein, I think, and that's what, all of this, what Jim talked about there is hopefully leads to that.
Well, look, Michael, Jim, thank you very much for your time. Every time I speak to you, things seem to have advanced that bit much further. So who knows where we'll be when I speak to you next. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the luck in the future.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much.
Nice to speak to you.